All right, we're live. Tuesday night, Tap and Birdie with my good friend John, also known as PGATout. We recently played a round of golf together, a very highly anticipated, highly watched match. It was a lot of fun. So it's very nice to have someone on my podcast that I've played around golf with and met in person before. Usually it goes the other way around. So I'm really happy for you to be on Tap and Birdie tonight.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on. I know we were talking about it when we were playing, and people don't realize that we coordinated the match, but we'd never met before.
Yeah.
I never met any of the three of you guys, Andy or Jared either. So that was awesome. It's cool to we obviously have so much in common talking about golf every day. So it's like I knew we were gonna hit it off when we were over there, and it was a fun round of golf. You guys, you knocked us around out there. You brought your A game. I feel like we brought like a B+ game. Like I don't really think we played too poorly, but you guys went out and you took it. So
it was one of my shining moments. You know, if there was a round of golf I wanted to play well at, that would be it. But I really have to say, John, you hit some bombs, dude. You get off the tee. You hit some really great drives. You hit some really great approach shots. I was very impressed by your game. I think you're downplaying your high school career a little bit. I think you were a little bit of a menace out there.
Well, I think the Cam Champ comp is spot on, but I'm not 3M Open Cam Champ. I'm like everything before 3M Open or in between the two wins.
Yeah,
is what I bring to the table.
You're like T142 Cam Champ, like missed the cut, like was never in contention. You're not this like spinning a wedge back to 3 feet on 18 when you have to make a par. But I was really impressed by our game. We got to get out there again. I'm looking forward to more rounds in the future at Bethpage. It'll be a lot of fun.
For sure, a whole lot of opportunities gained and opportunities squandered.
Yeah, I mean your analysis was spot on. So John, important question: what are you going to be spending the Xander winnings on? A full unit play live at 11-1. You cashed it. You predicted the future. How are we feeling after the Xander win?
Yeah, it's funny because I never bet live ever. Like I do my research up front, and I know the guys I want. And I'm not any good at like handicapping, like in the middle of a round, like, okay, this guy's due to get better or not. Like I'm no good at that. That's not my game. I don't do it. But my approach for the Olympics going into it was I don't like the odds at the top of this board. Like they're fair, but I'm not excited to bet a guy 8-1. Yeah. So I had a short list. I was going to look at Morikawa, Xander, JT, or Rory, I think were the four guys, or Hovland were the four guys that I was like, okay, one of these guys gets off to a slow start, their numbers any better, I'll bet him. And Xander didn't even get off to a slow start. He looked great, and he dipped from 8 to 11. So I was like, this is it. I'm doing it. And I do like to commemorate the wins. I do like to buy something to remember it. So the first thing I did was I went to the PGA Tour Superstore and I bought the shirt that Xander was wearing on Sunday, the Adidas, the blue polo.
Dude,
the Team USA.
Love that.
I would have worn it actually, but it's coming at the end of the week. But now I have that and I can remember that.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And I think that you kind of need to thank like the random guys that just went super low on Thursday, like Sepp and Jazz and all these guys, because if Xander was even close to the top or those guys didn't go as low as they would have, you wouldn't have gotten as good of his number. But it was really great for you to like, you put out so much great content that everybody can use, and you post your picks and you post winners. It's like a double thing, you know, like someone like me, I just post picks, like I do my podcast, but you post informational stuff that everybody can use. It doesn't matter. Like even touts like read it and stuff. So it's really great. And that was the thing, like about Xander's win, like I tweeted this out on Saturday. I said, you know, if this is a normal PGA Tour event, I don't know if I'm hedging, but the Olympics, it kind of has a different feel, you know, and like nothing to take away from Xander's win, but it really felt like an event like he would win. And like, it was overseas and it was a no cut. And, you know, we had the Japan Times. I do even tweet about it. It was like Strauss-Gate narrative, and it all came together. And there's really nothing better in this industry when you have a take, it turns out right, it goes exactly how you planned, and it was really great to watch. Did you enjoy watching at 2 a.m, or do you prefer like a 6 o'clock on a Sunday type of swing?
I liked that. And the things that I said about Xander when I tweeted the pick were those are like joke narratives, like home bed, grandparents' bed, and all that. But he was number one in my model that week too. And there's just like he was the number one comp course history guy, has always played well like in those Asian tournaments. So there was like a lot of reasons to like Xander. And I think like going into it, obviously I made some comments about how important it is to win a bronze medal or not, but I'll definitely say after watching it that there was this sort of like atmosphere and this weight in that final round where you could tell like guys cared a lot, and it wasn't from the perspective of like, what is this going to do for my career? It was like, I'm representing my country and I'm in a position where I can win a medal for my country.
Yeah.
So I think I would say I don't feel as 100% behind everything I was saying going into the week, having seen it and having seen how people like kind of responded to the patriotism in that moment. That being said, it's too bad Sungjae wasn't in that 8-man playoff, whatever it was, because I would have loved to see what happened.
Yeah.
Everybody else got in that bronze playoff except Sungjae, it seemed like. So we'll never know. But it was fun. Yeah, if I didn't have a dog in the fight with Xander, would I have stayed up all night? I can't say. When they were playing for the bronze medal, I turned it off because I couldn't get any live bets in at the time. So if I've got action, I'll find a way to stay up and watch it. But it was good. I liked it. It was a nice change of pace.
Yeah, no, it was fun, and it's honestly really funny that like obviously Xander won, but like the silver and bronze medalists were fucking Rory Sabatini and CT Pan. Like that is funny because it's like we're talking about this like there's so much like hard to like get a medal, and usually these guys aren't gunning for second or third, and like the two most random fucking guys win the silver and bronze. I mean, CT Pan, I don't know who tweeted this out, but he beat two guys on the opening day, and then he comes back to win a bronze and beats Colin Morikawa, the greatest, like the best player in the world in a playoff. I mean, some crazy shit happened, but it was really enjoyable to watch. I personally was very upset with what I saw from my good friend Hideki Matsuyama. Like it was like, and this is golf betting, and like this, and like I'm not gonna like come on and say like Decky should have won, but he should have been in it on 18. Like I don't like he really should have been in it on 18, and like it was really upsetting for him to miss every single putt that mattered, and it was tough to watch. I watch a lot of golf, I sweat a lot of guys, but that was truly like very upsetting. Like just he missed everything, and I know that's Decky, but. It was tough to watch. It was tough to stomach, and I knew I should have thrown $200 on Xander like Saturday. Like it was, and I just didn't, and I'm stupid. But we're gonna bounce back this week. I have no doubt in my mind about it. I'm gonna not lose a single bet this week. It's gonna be great. I'm really looking forward to it. So let's get into the board. Let's start talking about the WGC St. Jude East Coast. Kind of like a little bit of a step down from major. We'll talk about that, obviously. So in the first group of guys, we got Brooks at 11, Colin at 12, Spieth at 12, Xander at 14, DJ at 18, JT at 18, Berger at 20, and Louis at 20. I'm cutting it there. Listen to a lot of podcasts, okay? And a lot of people are cutting it before Louis like he's not a super leader. It's a little upsetting to me. But
some respect on Louis' name.
It's a little upsetting, but it's okay. I put him in the first tier. So of that first group of guys, I know you're going to have one of them on your outright card. I know you're going to start your DFS lineups with one of them. Who do you like at the top of the board this week?
Outside of like the betting card, I think Colin and Brooks are in their own class. I think it's hard to see them not contending this week. I don't bet a lot of like top 10s or top 5s, but I think about it for one of those guys. Just playing so good right now. Brooks is dominant on this course. He likes playing here. He's motivated, which isn't the case on every course. And Colin, didn't have his best stuff by any means. I think I saw he lost strokes approach.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
right.
know
Like,
how.
and he almost won a bronze medal anyway. Like, that's gonna correct itself. So I'm like nervous. I'm not betting those guys, but I'm nervous to not be betting them. And I might like that might be an instance where I put both of them in like a DFS lineup and try to hedge that way. But I think everybody else at the top of the board, there are holes in their games where I can point at and say maybe he doesn't have the course history, or maybe the driver still like needs some tweaking or whatever. There's nothing I can say about either of those two that I could see them like having a poor round. So those guys scare me. The other guys in that range I'm thinking about. What number did you say Dustin Johnson's at right now?
I think people are getting 20s on him. He's 18 on DraftKings right now. I'm on my local. He's 18. I think 18 and 20 is kind of the number for DJ. But I do think a lot of people like DJ this week. I think DJ is being touted a lot, and a lot of people think it's his time to break through after his kind of disappointing season after the Masters.
Yeah, DJ is a guy that I have bet. And I don't. So you don't use like the Jersey books, but William Hill today rebranded to Caesars or got acquired by or something. I updated the app because I was looking at William Hill and it became Caesars, and they were doing an odds boost for DJ 22-1.
Wow.
So I just took that because that's where Daniel Berger is everywhere, and I was prepared to bet Daniel Berger, but they're at the same odds. I have to pick DJ. They both won twice at this course.
Yeah.
DJ wins a WGC like every other time it's played. He's got an insane history at WGCs. And he played well enough for 3 days to win the Open. So he's shown flashes. I'm not reading too much into the miscut at the 3M because once he knew he was out of it, he just kind of torpedoed out.
And it's a totally different tournament. The different skills are needed. We're going Birdie Fest to a higher scoring event, so I don't think that matters at all. So
yeah, I like DJ. I think he's due to get back to his like average self, and he's been a little bit on the wrong side of it, but the results haven't been as bad as they seem. And if he just has like a good putting week, the rest of the game is there. So I like DJ. I wouldn't say I like love him more than anybody else in that price range. It was more of a value bet for me, but that's where I started my card.
Yeah, no, I love it. I have no problems with that. I personally wagered a decent amount on Brooks outright this week.
Nice.
I placed an even larger wager on him top 10, like 2 units. Probably going to throw more on it. Also bet him top 5. So I'm all in on Brooks this week. I think that his win 2 years ago, he was in worse form. I mean, I know he doesn't have a win to back it up, but I mean, he is just unbelievable tee to green. Like, so he's playing in unbelievable form, and he's going to a course that he's shown he can win at. I just think that that's just too much aligning for me not to have exposure to him this week. We're talking about Chad's like more like he needs to get in. He needs to wager a lot of money. Like, I just think the safest bet in the whole world is Brooks top 10. I got it at +6, +160, I believe, on my local. No, maybe a little less than that, but I bet a decent amount on it. I just love Brooks this week. When I look at this tournament and this week and the winning scores and the people that have won it, I am playing this like a major. I am playing guys that have contended in the majors this year because at the majors, there's a heavy premium on hitting the fairway and hitting the greens, and par is a good score, and your birdies will come. So I'm very much targeting guys that have contended in almost every single major this year because when you look at the winning scores, they're about the same. So, I mean, JT -13, Brooks -16, that was kind of an outlier. Everyone else was -13, DJ -10, all this. The Open, the winning score was right in that range. The U.S. Open, obviously a little lower, but -6. The PGA, -6. So I want guys that can excel in that winning score range, and that's really who I'm targeting this week. And when, obviously, you talk about majors, Brooks Koepka always comes up. So maybe Brooks is at a different point in his career where it's not so much like he hasn't pulled ever since the back nine of Black. I just don't think he's the same on Sundays and majors. So maybe he's kind of progressed in his career where he's going to win these WGCs and these waste managements and these different events. So Brooks is on my card every way this week. I mean, this is nothing crazy. That's just, I'm going with the obvious play this week.
I like it. I think this is the type of week where if you're going to bet somebody at the top, like, this is where the top guys win. And he's obviously won here before. There's been 2 WGCs at Southwind. He's finished first and second in them. So, and I was watching some of the replays of the past tournaments, and you could tell in the interviews afterwards, like, he always like kind of keeps it real, and it meant a lot to him to win there, and he enjoys playing at this place. Great charity, obviously, with St. Jude, and he gets really involved with that as well. So I think that this has his attention, and with Brooks, like, that's the first thing you have to consider. Like, does he care? And he definitely cares. So when he's got his full attention on the tournament, he's scary. I like the play. I'll be there at DFS. There's too many like long shot guys that I got cute with this week, and that took my units away from going in on a top guy. But I like it a lot.
Dude, this is not the week to be at the bottom of the board, but you feel it. Maybe the trends.
I already regret it a little bit, but I couldn't help myself.
I feel like, look, like, we do this every single week. Like, we're we're grinding out our cards, we're handicapping the tournament, we're thinking about different things. Like, from my read this week, like Tuesday night, like, I'm kind of getting a feel that this is kind of like an easier tournament to handicap. I'd rather handicap this tournament than some random TPC course, all these birdie fests we've had. I think that, what we're talking about the course this week, I mean, you have to hit the fairway. You have to hit the green. It's very hard to hit these greens from the rough. It's not a super long course, so these guys, there's just a premium on hitting the fairways this week. And that's what I think about when you look at majors, when you look at guys like who's contending the last 3 majors, like Brooks and Louis and Berger and Scheffler. Like, these guys just show up at harder conditions. So that's who I'm targeting this week. And, we'll obviously get into it more, but, normally on my card, like, I bet a lot of top 20s and a lot of random guys of like plus 350 to finish top 20. I'm not doing that this week. Like, I'm not getting cute with, I haven't even checked the chat. My thing was, I completely, can you see the chat on the top right?
I can see it. Yeah.
You can see, I didn't even have it up because I had the thing. Okay. So we're going to shout out our friends. Friend from home, Mario, what's up? Coach, our boy, he's always here. Flowers, the man. Can't believe this is so live this week. Jers, your partner, great to have you on. Jazz, my boy. I totally botched the comments. I was too laser focused on the pod. We got Rob. You were on his podcast. That's great to see. He said he's on the Caesars deal. So
love that. Love to hear that, Jeff.
Jeff's the boy. He said he wasn't even going to bet this week. I'm like, dude, you're hitting outright like every single week. So we can't talk about everybody, but another guy I have on my card, I bet top 10 at plus 190, which I think is a good price. He's also about even odds, about minus 120 for a top 20 is Daniel Berger. I mean, he's won at this exact course twice. He's had a good major record. I just like Berger this week. Obviously, he's going to be high owned for DFS, but I just think that he's on my card. I'm betting it. I really do like basically a plus 200 top 10 for Berger at a course he's played really well at. He's been playing some good golf. I like Berger this week. For an outright, I don't know. I don't know if I see it. I mean, he hasn't won in so long since the RBC, like year and a half ago. But I do think he will be in the mix, and I do think he will contend this week.
You're talking about Berger?
Yeah, about Berger.
Well, Berger won Pebble Beach earlier. That was my first.
I'm completely wrong.
That was my. I'll never forget that one. That was my first win of the year.
First one of the year on the banner. First one on the banner.
Yeah, the first man on the banner. Always remember the first. There's actually, I think there's some interesting like correlation between success at Pebble and here.
Yep.
They're not exactly the same course, but they're like somewhat challenging, windy, and short. And Berger's won twice. Berger's won there, and here DJ has won twice at both. Brooks is the highest finisher in this field from the U.S. Open that was at Pebble, and he won here. So I think there's a lot to be said about if you played well this year at Pebble, like you can do it again here. I like him a lot. It's also one of those like grinder sort of events where he's been, scoring well in these like low teens scores that you mentioned.
Yep.
Like those are the types of events that he's been contending at. And he's a good Bermuda putter too. I was ready to bet Berger, and then DJ slipped to that same number with that boost, and I was like, I gotta take DJ. It heads up, but I might end up doing both. I don't know yet. I haven't finished my card yet, so I think after we're done talking through the board, I'll have a clearer idea.
Yeah, I think you could definitely get a Berger JT matchup. A lot of people are fading Olympic guys. I think that could be a good bet this week. I have no problem with that. And another reason why I think the comparison between Pebble and here is valid is because these both have smaller greens than normal PGA Tour events. So it's no difference that approach play and hitting the fairways isn't a premium this week. So this is the point of the podcast where I talk about my favorite golfer in the world and top 10 golfer in the world. I think Louis at 20-1, I'm betting it. I'm going to bet on him every single week until he wins. I might go broke doing it, but I really don't care. Andy, our good friend, our good friend Andy, like we played black together. We played a match together the other week. We're all in a group chat. We talk. He went on every single podcast for like 3 weeks and just said Xander's going to win. And then he eventually won. I'm doing the same thing with Louis. I don't care. But I'm not blindly betting Louis this week. I think there's actually a lot of evidence and trends and numbers that actually back it up. If he has good course history at this course. Again, I'm talking about this is a light major. He's obviously been insane in majors. Louis is fairway green 2-putt. Sometimes he puts it close and he makes it. And I think a lot of other people are kind of catching on. So I think you mix in the recent form, you mix in the events that he contends at best are in this range of 9 to 13 under, higher scoring, bigger premium on hitting the fairways. And it just makes sense. Even if he didn't, like the fact that he has the course history here, like makes even more sense for me to be betting him this week. So I placed a hefty wager on him top 10 plus 650 to win 120. I think I might bet more on that. I obviously bet him outright at 20-1. I also bet him top 5 at plus 300. Like, it's not like I'm some crazy person like on my podcast. Like he's actually been cashing these top 5s and top 10s with ease. So I'm not going to run away from that. And I actually think that his performance at the 3M makes me even like it better, because if he can finish top 5 at a straight birdie fest, then I like his chances at a much higher scoring event this week. So that's my Louis rant. I'm fucking betting him. I think you should bet the mortgage on him top 10, top 5. And that's my Louis take this week. I have nothing else to say. I just feel very strongly about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looking at his past results, he's got top 3 or better in 4 of his last 5. That's crazy. He looked great at the 3M. He kind of like backdoored into T2
because he wasn't playing on anything for Sunday. He was like Sunday he went out free. He played well. I mean, it's easy.
Yeah, but he actually had like his worst putting outing, like maybe of the entire season at the 3M, and he still finished runner-up. So that's worth something, because he's the best putter on tour this year, so he's bound to gain strokes every time out. You would think. And, he's putted well at this track before. He had, I think, a T6 at the last WGC. Maybe there's something to be said about the stakes of a WGC being a little less pressure packed than an Open. And maybe that's what he needs. Maybe that's what helped Xander break through. Because it was like a different sort of field, and that's what he needs, a WGC.
No, I can't wait. I'm going to bet more on him outright. I'm going to bet more on him top 10. I mean, all my money is kind of tied up in Louis this week. And I'm looking forward to maybe like having a moment where I'm like, right. And everyone's like, wow, it's like, how did you do that? But I mean, I'm looking forward to Louis this week. He's not in the featured group and he's with Hovland and Cantley.
Ridiculous.
That is like
so disrespectful.
That is like the featured group. Like that is like what people want to see. And whatever. I actually don't like watching Louis live because he like puts everything so close and like just misses every putt. It's actually like really stressful to watch. So I think it's probably good for my mental health and my blood pressure and my work. Like, you know, my real job if he's not live this week. So we're moving down. Next range, we got Rory, Hovland, Cantley, Webb, Casey, Fitzpatrick, and Scheffler. Who are you rostering in DFS? Who are you betting outright? Who do you like? Who do you like to fade in this range? What are you thinking about this range this week?
I wasn't jumping on Rory, but that seems like a misprice for him to be at 2,200 in a limited field coming off of a near bronze medal.
Yeah, he played great. He played great last week.
Yeah, he played great.
He really played well.
And I think the ball striking is definitely there. And the putting, he's like starting to figure it out. I had to look up like his WGC like history at this event, but I can't imagine he has bad history.
Yeah.
It's a weird number because his game is kind of trending up. The other thing is you're hearing a lot of Quill Hollow, Wells Fargo comps with the same sort of greens, Champion Bermuda, and he putted the lights out on those. So that's encouraging. He finished T6 here last time. So yeah. I think that's a weird price. I do think that I haven't looked at ownership yet, but I do think that people aren't jumping to play Rory this week. I think everybody else around him, people are more excited to play. So I think you get a price and ownership discount on a guy like him. And I also like Hovland. I think his number kind of slipped a bit too. He opened almost close to 30, I think, and he's come down a little bit. But yeah, I think people are just forgetting that he plays with the elites and he just has a couple blow up holes here or there, but he definitely has a path to win an event like this. Was right there in contention at the last WGC. Yeah. He had that one like quadruple on that last hole. If not for that, if not for that, he would have won it. So I think for me overall, this is just a value week for me because every good player in the world is playing this week and they're all kind of bunched up. And it's hard to kind of separate yourself beyond where I think like Colin and Brooks are. It's just like a lot of people up top. So I'm just looking at value guys who I think are a little mispriced and trying to fill out a card that way.
Yeah, you know what you talked about. I think Roy's actually an excellent DFS play. Right now, looking at like 12% ownership, I think that's excellent. I think that's really good. And I think if you're starting your lineup that far down, you have a lot of room to get more of the AK guys in. So I think I want to start some lineups with Roy this week. If he didn't play that great in the Olympics last week, I wouldn't be so quick to that. But I think that his performance last week was pretty impressive. And I think that at his ownership, I think he's probably a really good DFS play, better than a bet. So we're talking about how we got a little Pebble Beach comparison, and we want guys that have played well at Pebble Beach, and a lot of the similar guys have. So Cantley, I mean, he was right there at Pebble Beach. So Cantley, he's decent in majors, decent in harder events, has proven he can win. Memorial, that's a tough tournament, similar winning score. Cantley's somebody that I'm kind of wavering, going back and forth. I don't know if I want to put him on my card, but I think it's probably a better bet than not, just because of, I mean, he scores well in these type of events, and we like the Pebble comparison, and he's done well there. So do you have any opinions on Cantley this week?
I like Cantley. I have gotten the question from my man Chris if the East Coast West Coast splits apply this week to Cantley.
How close are we to the coast? I mean, we're like 3 states in, but it's definitely
we're in the Eastern time zone, but we're not close enough to the coast. So he's fair game. You can play Cantlay. I'm not saying fade him because we're on the East. He's a free play. You can go out and do it if you like him. I won't stop you. I like it. I think he's trending into form, and obviously he looked good at the Memorial. He had some concerns with the putter. I think he changed putters, and then like things started clicking again. If you talk about like needing to just hit the fairway and just like a nice, easy, smooth swing, and then hitting greens, and if you hit enough putts, you win. Like that's Cantlay's game. He doesn't have an out of control driver where you got to worry about slicing and hooking it. Like that's Cantlay never does that. So I think he's a safe play. I think it's a decent number. He's just another guy that's just like right in the middle of a ton of names that I like, and it's hard to make a decision.
Yeah. Yeah, and Cantlay, what we've talked about it, and I think Cantlay plays kind of boring golf, and boring golf is what does well in these higher scoring events when the winning score is like 9-13 or even lower than that. It's about hitting fairways and hitting green and getting your par and move on. So I think Cantlay game actually sets up really well here. So I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to see what I would only bet him like top 10 and maybe in DFS. I kind of like that. Another guy that I bet him top 10. I bet him even money top 20. I like him in DFS. He's obviously going to be high owned. I mean, I'm not the only one with only 18%, but I really do like Scheffler this week. And he's somebody that I played at the US Open, and because of his major record and how he was trending, and he showed up and it worked for me. And I was upset that I didn't play him at the Open where he finished super well. And again, we're talking about these guys that have played well in majors. They score better in these higher scoring events in difficult fields where you have to hit the green and you have to hit the fairway, and it's not a birdie fest and it's not a putting conversation. And I mean, Scheffler fits all those boxes. So I'm betting, I placed a pretty large wager on him top 20 at even money. I really do think that is a very safe, good bet. 18% ownership right now. I mean, pretty high in his range. Berger in about the same price is way more. But if you don't want to play Berger because of the ownership, I like playing Scheffler more than the guys around him, Casey, Finau, and Fitzpatrick. So what are you thinking about our boy Scotty this week?
Scotty's another guy who was right with Hovland at the top of the leaderboard at the last WGC in concession. Yeah. Looked like he was really charging. He can make birdies in bunches. I feel like I'm always a little less bullish on Scotty than the rest of like everybody else is. I like the play. I'm not going to play him at high ownership, but I understand what there is to like about him.
Yeah, no, I think it's a decent play this week. It's gonna be on my card this week, and I think that he's kind of a shoo-in for a nice little top 20. So we're moving down. And I played Lowry last week at the Olympics. He didn't have the best showing, but it's okay. I'm not really upset with it. But he actually has good course history here and has played decent in WGCs, and he's just been a very consistent player. But I don't want my card to be too big this week because, like I said, I think that you kind of have to play this like a light major, and I don't want to bunch up and have a bunch of things. So. And he's probably minus money. So I'm not there on Lowry. But in the next range, like Webb, Joaquin, Answer, Cam Smith, Connors, I feel like Connors could be a kind of a good play. Fleetwood, Zalatoris, Kokrak. Any of these guys make your card? I mean, feel free to talk about anybody that you like. And that's on the card this week.
So there's one guy, and I want to talk it out with you because I feel like I have to place this bet, but I don't really want to, and I just want to talk about it, and maybe we get some comments if this is crazy. I use DraftKings Sportsbook primarily. That's my go-to book. Bryson is 35-1. And I didn't want to play Bryson, but he opened at like 24-1, and now he's 35. I think he's coming off of like COVID, so I need to like look up if he's like feeling sick, or I gotta like look at what he's posting on Instagram. But I liked Sawgrass as a comp before this, another like pretty short course that is difficult to score on, and a TPC. And he was great at Sawgrass earlier this year. He plays really well on short courses, which you wouldn't think, like you think straight to the bombing. But when he's on a course where you just like club down off the tee, like he does that. And then he just hits like a 5-iron 280, and he's still hitting mid wedges. So this is also the type of course where you can take aggressive lines on, and he doesn't really care about hitting out of the rough. Justin Thomas, if you remember his last round, he basically did what Bryson always does, but unintentionally, where he like sliced it into like the wrong property, but it ended up being like a good angle to get on, and then he like accidentally pulled a drive on like 17, but it carried all the trees that were supposed to be a hazard. And so I could see Bryson doing what Justin Thomas did to win. And the other thing I thought was interesting about Bryson is he putts incredibly well on the Champion Bermuda grass. He gained, I think, 7 strokes.
It's his best surface. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's great on Bermuda, but Champion specifically, he gained 7 strokes putting at the Wells Fargo at Quail Hollow. And the last time he was at this event, he gained 10 strokes putting at TPC Southwood. So 2 of his best outings in the last year have come on this type of grass, and he putted the lights out here. The last time it was a weird pandemic year, and it was somewhat early into it, so maybe the irons weren't fully polished. But at 35-1, I feel like that I must be missing something. What am I missing?
No, I think handicappers and guys they always talk about the drift, always talk about the odd drift. It is pretty shocking that Bryson is 35-1. I could be wrong. I might be talking out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure the last time he was 35-1 was at the U.S. Open when he won. I'm not saying that's a thing, but after he won the U.S. Open and went on his run in the fall and at the API, he's been nowhere near 35-1. Not even close to that number. So I do think that's a very good number on him, and that's a big drift. And I think that if the public perception is that when Bryson only can play well on these long courses where he bombs and gouges and has a 9-iron out of the rough, I mean, he's proven that he could win at other places. I mean, API where he won, that's hard scoring. That is around the range that we're looking at. And I think that Green, I mean, look, you just pull up his Fantasy National. His best surface is Bermuda, specifically Champion. His score is best on difficult scoring conditions. I mean, that's what it's going to be this week. So, and it's not like his recent form has been, no.
Not horrible. He is actually very good after the weekend, on the weekend at the Open. He had a terrible start, and nobody expected him to play well on the links course the last time we saw him, and he still made the cut. He finished 33rd on a course that didn't suit him at all. I just looked on Fantasy National at the courses under 7,200 yards filter. Daniel Berger is number 1 and Bryson's number 2. So people, they just think if it's a long course, I got to play Bryson. And if it's not a long course, I don't need to play Bryson. It's not true. He plays really well in short courses. So unless it's a COVID thing and somebody knows something at DraftKings and they're like, this guy's sick and he can't win, we're going to make everybody bet him at 35. I'm going to play him.
No, it really is a perplexing number. It really, if it wasn't for the COVID, I mean, I think it would maybe be less, but I mean, he's playing in the tournament. It's not he's playing in it. He had COVID, but he's in it. So I think at 35-1, I mean, he's priced around guys that are nowhere in his league, like Abe Answer and Harris English and Tony Finau. These guys are good, but they're not in Bryson's league. So I do think that could work because what we're talking about is about hitting greens, and it's about hitting fairways, and he doesn't need to hit driver because he's so long with every club. So I like it. I think that, and I read a lot of content and stuff. I don't think a lot of people are betting it. I don't think it's like JT at the Players where his drift and everyone bought it and it works. So I mean, I like it. I think it's probably worth your money. And if he's 35-1, then his DK price is going to be lower. And I'm sure his ownership is low, and his top 10 and his top 20 numbers are going to be better odds. So I like it. I'm glad we had that conversation. It's really striking. Like
Yeah, I don't know what to do with it. I feel like now that we've talked it out and we're on video, I feel like I have to now I have to bet him.
Yeah.
But I feel good about it too. Like this is
but on DraftKings he's like 95. He's like way higher on DraftKings than his odds, but
he's in the 20s on most books too. For whatever reason, DraftKings really punted on him. But
I'm on DraftKings too, and it's 35. So I think that could honestly work this week. I have no problems with it. So a guy I'm kind of back and forth on, and he obviously won me an outright, and it was okay. So he's moved down, but he's the 5th most clicked guy on Fantasy National, Harris English. I don't know if I could really get there on him. I'm a little worried. Like, he's obviously popular because he's won on this specific course, and he's coming off a win. He battled back to make the cut at the Open. Haven't seen him since. I'm not going to play him in DK, but I do think that at his number, you could get a good top 20, top 10 bet on him. I might get there on it, but I've talked about it on Rob's podcast and I've seen it. Like, I feel like when these 7 to 8K guys are very popular, it doesn't usually work out. And that's my biggest concern with him. And, he played well in the U.S. Open. He's played well in majors, but he is kind of a birdie fest guy. So I'm a little back and forth on him. I do not like that he's the fifth most clicked guy on Fantasy National this week, but I don't know if I'm going to get there on him. It might come back to bite me, but I don't feel great about Harris. Do you have any thoughts on Harry this week?
I still hold a grudge from his collapse at the Palmetto, so I don't go out of my way.
Yeah, but that missed you out on money at the Travelers, man.
It sure did, yeah. And now I hate him even more for doing that. But yeah, I'm not going to go out of my way to play Harris English. And I like to play Harris English when especially a 7K Harris English, if like I want to get a guy through the cut and like finish top 20 or something, because that's usually been his sort of career, is just like top 20ing everywhere. In this sort of field, I mean, he did just win like very recently, so obviously there's some win equity there, but with so many heavyweights in this field compared to like when he won last, I'm not jumping all over it. And if he's chalky, there's so many guys around him that I can pivot to.
Yeah. So this is really odd, like that Bryson is 35 on DK. Like,
that's the other thing. Like, if they're right next to each other, I can't do it.
I don't know what DraftKings knows, but it is very striking that they are 10 points off.
I mean, they literally sponsor him, so that's what makes me think they know something, because he's sponsored by DraftKings, so they know something.
These sportsbook they're in it to make money. This is not a friendly thing. Yeah, no, I think we need to tweet about it, and I think because this is truly kind of a detective thing at this point. This is kind of like a NCIS episode where we're like, look, we got to talk about Bryson's like 10, like he's 35 on DK, but 10 points lower on all these other books. Like, there must be something up, like who knows something. So I think that we need to do some more inquisitive research, but I think just a pure bet the number play, it works at 35.
It's bet the number week for me. That's it.
So a guy who's won a WGC this year, handsome fellow, good guy, very fashionable. People don't like him. You like Billy Ho this week?
Billy Ho is my first bet this week, and I don't like him. It's another guy. Like, I don't like Bryson. I don't like Billy Horschel, but it's bet the number week, and I'm not even betting with I'm not betting with my heart so much here. I'm just seeing a number that looks too good to be true. And just as you said, like with Harris English, where if you play with your heart, you're gonna miss out on like good value. Like a lot of guys just don't like Billy Horschel, and that's how his number gets to here. That's what happens with Patrick Reed a lot, where he's always at like a super bettable number because nobody gets excited to bet him. I think that's starting to be the case with Billy Horschel just because he's like a weird dude. But he won the WGC this year. He came in second in the other WGC this year. He always plays well at WGCs. He's got like, I think it's like 5 top tens in his career at WGCs.
Best surface is Bermuda.
Crushes Bermuda, Florida guy through and through. Just this is going to be played just like a Florida course to him. And the course history at St. Jude, even before the WGC, was impeccable. He's like a top 5 course history guy. So none of that is reflected in his price because he hasn't been good the last like 4 weeks, but they've all been majors. So that's another, like, I would say like a good, like, double check the guy's recent form and the recent results, because a lot of these guys just like have played 3 majors in their last 4 starts, and you're not going to have great results when you're doing that. Your numbers aren't going to look as good as guys who played like the Barbasol and the John Deere. If you're skipping those, then your numbers aren't going to look as good. But he's proven whenever he's in like Southeast US on Bermuda and in WGCs apparently, that's where he plays best. So I bet him at 80-1. I think he's a little lower than that now, but I think it's a good bet.
I think that's a lot of boxes to check for a guy like Billy Horschel, who isn't these guys that don't win around him like Neiman or Anter, like those guys. Like he actually like has some win equity, and I think that, you know, just when people come up, I mean, he's plus 200 top 20. I mean, you should, you know, hedge a little bit if you think he's going to have a good week. I think, yeah, that's a good bet.
Where are you?
No, he messaged me. He said, I'm watching the replay tomorrow. I got too much. He's got a wife and kids. He's got a crazy life. I mean, I envy the guy. I feel bad for him. But I think that's a good Chad bet.
Yeah.
50, I think 75.
And Chad loves Billy Ho.
Yeah. I think we'll have to deliberate it and talk to him about it. But I do think that a Billy Horschel top 20 is a good play this week. And his recent form does scare me because, I mean, he 67th at Memorial, 40th at Charles Schwab, 20th at the 23rd at the PGA. I like that. 25th at Heritage. Like, he hasn't done much since his win and his second place, but the WGC and the Bermuda, those are big boxes to check this week for a guy like that. So a guy I want to talk about and I want to give some caution to, if any listeners are thinking about betting him or they want to play him this week and it makes sense. I personally don't think you should play Sam Burns this week. I hope he's not on your card.
I'm not.
In my opinion, Sam Burns is a birdie fest guy. I know people like to think Bermuda Burns, and it is Bermuda this week. But in my opinion, Sam Burns does best at Birdie Fest when the winning score is 18-22. And I don't like it this week. I think obviously he's going to be at a good number. Like, obviously he's going to be low owned, $6,900. Like, people are going to want to put him in their lineups because they could fit a lot more top guys in there. But for the pure reason that I think that he excels on Birdie Fest, I don't think Sam Burns is a play this week just because it's on Bermuda. So hopefully I'm right about this. If any of my listeners are thinking about betting it, but I know that he's obviously somewhat popular for his price and the fact that it's Bermuda, but I don't like Burns this week.
I totally agree. I won't be there. Recent form's not spectacular, and as you said, if it's not Birdie Fest, I'm probably not betting them.
Dude, I know we were talking. I know on Rob's podcast, we're not there yet. I don't know if I want to. We got some other guys to talk about. Guys we haven't talked about that might be on your card? Who did you bet? Because they were going down into the 80-90-1. We got Rose, Mickelson, Champ, Cam Davis. You had 100-1 winner on Leishman, Wolf, Mack, Kiz, Ortiz. Homa, Palmer, Siwoo. You like any of these guys?
So the only other bomb that I bet was Phil, 100 to 1. So I didn't
Yeah.
put anything crazy on it, but great course history again. Like the theme of the week really for me is like the value guys are priced this low for a reason. And usually that reason is recent form and it doesn't take into account the course history. So if you're going to bet a bomb, you're usually betting a guy whose recent form is not very good. But on the flip side, his course history is incredible. He's had, I think, like 5 top 5 finishes at this course at TPC Southwind. He finished runner-up here at the last WGC St. Jude. I think he was in the final pairing with JT, so he was up there.
I don't think many people expected that.
No, that was definitely a surprise, just like it would be this time around. And he won a major 3 months ago. Not a very long time ago, he won a major. So I think with Phil, it always comes down to staying focused and being in the moment and being at a tournament that he actually wants to win and not a tournament that he's like there to do press at. And this week, like, there's a lot of money online. This is like one of the biggest purses of the year, biggest.
And we know he's a degenerate majors. Gambler.
Yeah, he needs his career's coming to a close soon. He needs some money.
He needs some money.
I mean, he doesn't need some money, but like he's running out of like viable chances to like win a lot of money. And this is a short field that pays a lot. And they removed 2 WGCs from the schedule next year. So like take advantage while you can. There's money on the table. Phil is paying attention, and he's never lost strokes putting ever at TPC Southwood in like 10 years. So putting is always so random. And when you can feel good about a guy's putting going into a tournament, and he's had good ball striking there too, 100 to 1, I got to go with Phil.
Bet a top 10 on him and a top 20, but I like that. I don't dislike it as a bomb because his course history is so excellent here. And like you were talking about with Rob yesterday, like he just won a major. Like it's not like, I mean, obviously he hasn't done much since, but I mean, this seems like a course where people with good course history just keep showing up and keep doing well. So if Phil's one of those guys, then that makes sense, you know? So I like it. I fully endorse it. I don't know if Rob's still watching. I feel bad for Rob because so many people are touting Jim Herman, who is literally 500 to 1 and the second to last guy on DraftKings. Like he couldn't be more. And other people are touting Jim Herman. Do we have some concern now about Jim Herman if is it got to be mushed to death?
No, I don't think it could ever be mushed to death because he's minimum price. And guys people are going to be scared to play the cheapest guy in the field, even if you need the salary relief. Like I don't think guys jump to play and Jim Herman of all people, you know? Yeah. I totally agree with everything that Rob had to say. And like, to the point where I'm like also considering playing him. But if his ownership did get up, I obviously like if you can get leverage by not playing the cheapest guy in the field, like that's usually a pretty good strategy. But hits fairways, ball strike has been pretty good. Won at the Wyndham last year, which has some comps.
Time.
Yeah, on Sedgefield, which I think that's also champion. Bermuda, that was a birdie fest. This isn't, but he can't get cut. So how bad can he really hurt you? You know?
Yeah. No,
if you're going to play him, like I would say, one thing I would say, if you're going to play him in DFS, you should basically fill up like all your salary because by having Jim Herman in your lineup, that should be to cram in like guys that nobody else can get access to.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good DFS play. Even if he's at 5% ownership and he finishes T23, like I think that's like worth it for everybody.
Yeah.
And he just posted a tweet with Xander with the
gold
medal. So like that's a little strokes gain perspective. Like he was hanging out with Xander. This guy just won a gold. He wants to play well this week. So I know people are touting it. He's at 5% ownership. I'll probably fit him into some lineups because there's so many guys at the top that we know are going to play well that if you put Jim Herman in your lineup, you can get access to all these guys at the top. So I don't hate it. I might play him in DraftKings. You know, everything when I'm on my podcast and I've had a few beers, like sounds good. I have way less like, but I've been cold. You know, I've had 3 losing weeks in a row, which is unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. I should never have 3 lose. I'm just kidding, but I want to just make some profit this week, and that's why I want a smaller card, and that's why I just want to bet elite guys that I think are going to play well, and then have a good week, and Louis will win, and it'll be totally fine. And I'm not worried about it. So a guy I want to talk about with you, low like last, like we like one of the we're towards the end of the board, we're towards the shit, is our boy KH Lee, who obviously anybody who is on Twitter, you know, KH Lee at TPC courses just fits. He always plays well. And he played well at the 3M, which was a TP course. So it was like the trend kept going. Like it, I think his performance at the 3M makes me more excited about him. The only thing that worries me is that we've talked about is that he won a birdie fest this year. 3M was a birdie fest. This is not going to be that. I mean, his best surface is Bermuda, so I like that. But I think that, again, we're talking about DraftKings, maybe a top 20. There's literally no top 40 bets this week. Like, I kind of might go back to KH Lee just for how well he actually does at TPC courses. But do you think that the fact that it's not a birdie fest is a reason not to play him in any regard and have zero exposure to him?
I think there's some merit to that because I think part of why he's so good on TPC courses is because most of them are birdie fests.
Yeah.
And obviously he won at Craig Ranch, which is a pure birdie fest. He did make the cut at Sawgrass, which is the other like really difficult TPC course that this plays more like, but he finished near dead last in the field after the cut. So I was like very outspoken about like you just have to blindly play KH Lee on TPC courses at 3M. And it worked out. I won some good money on some top 20s and BFS with him. So it worked out from that standpoint, but I don't know. Part of me feels obligated to just keep the narrative going, and he's going for like the TPC sweep. If he makes the cut here, he makes every cut of the season at a TPC course. That's pretty cool. But what am I saying? There's no cut, so he's a lock. He already locked it up. So I like him as a cut maker, and you don't have to really worry about making the cut. So I'm not excited to play him.
I think for DraftKings, I think he's going to be in my lineups, and maybe I'll get there on a top 20 for a very small wager. But again, like I said, I'm not playing a lot of low guys down the board this week. I'm really my majority of my units and money is going to be at the top. So if I'm sticking to that, script, then it doesn't really make much sense. So we went through the board. We gave our picks. I want to talk about Bethpage Black. If you're listening, we had a few beers. We want to talk about it. So I had the pleasure of playing Bethpage Black on Friday with Andy, who you all know. We woke up at 5 a.m. and went and played. Andy played from the tips, and he shot an 86. He only made one double bogey, which was extremely impressive. I shot a 115. I made 3 bogeys in a row. It was insane. But I just, like, we're talking about this before the podcast, like the length and the rough isn't what does it for me. It's that every single green is elevated and just surrounded by bunkers, and there's legitimately nowhere to miss. And it's not regular bunkers that you can just hit a normal, like I can hit a fucking sand shot. Like I'm not that, I can hit a sand shot, but I don't know how to hit a sand shot that goes 7 feet in the air. But it was fun. So did you enjoy it? You said you played Black 3 times. What is your take on Bethpage Black?
I love it. I mean, we're both Long Island guys, so it's like a home course, and it's cool that like people come from all over the world to play it, and it's like the people's like municipal course or whatever you want to say. And if you're a New York resident, it's super cheap, and you're playing like a PGA Tour like elite course that hosts all these majors. So whenever I play black, it's just like an experience, and I feel like I'm in a mental state where it's like I'm not going to get down on myself if I play crap because I'm supposed to play like crap here. But we were talking earlier, like somehow, and it makes absolutely no sense. I shot maybe my best round of the summer last year at Bethpage Black. I played from the white tees, not the
Which
back.
is just the regular tee. Like you're not gonna play from the tip. So you played and make it perfectly fine that you played from the whites.
I need to caveat that because like I don't know. So I shot 78 at the black, and I played the last 2 holes in pitch black darkness, and I doubled the last hole because I hit the ball. I had no idea where it went, and then I just dropped a ball and I took a drop.
Yeah,
To the fairway,
and there's a lot of bunkering on the side of it. 18's a beautiful.
Literally couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Couldn't see a foot in front of me, but I was like having the round of my life, and I was like, we're gonna play through. And I played as a single with 3 guys I had never met before, and 2 of them left at like 15 because it was like too dark at that point. And I looked at the other guy, and I was like, I'm playing no matter what because I'm playing the round of my life right now. And he's like, I don't really care. I guess I'll like meet my dad afterwards. I'll walk around with. And the guy literally like held up a flashlight for every shot for me with his camera. It was a really crazy experience, but I got lucky because I hit every bunker and I just like went up and down for every bunker. But I'm used to playing these like other Long Island courses where you're hitting out of like rocks and dirt. So being able to hit out of like actual sand, I was like, I felt like okay in there. But that's usually not my game. It's a beast.
Yeah,
it's a crazy course.
Absolute beast. And actually, what I love about it is the greens were so pure. Like I actually putted so well. And
oh yeah, that's the other thing.
I putted so much better than Andy. Like so much better than Andy. Like it was awesome. But so this is what makes Bethpage Black so hard, in my opinion, especially when you're playing from the tips, is that it's so long that if you miss the fairway, and some holes the rough isn't that bad, but some holes the rough is that bad. Like there were holes, like specifically I remember on 15, Andy missed the fairway. It's okay. I forgive you, Andy. It's okay. You missed the fairway. And he was probably like 190 out uphill. And no 2 handicap or good golfer wants to chip out their 56 into the fairway and then take it, but you can't get a 7-iron on a club out of the rough. So you're like, I'll just get a 7-iron there, and then you like hit it 30 yards, and then you're even in a worse spot. So what's so hard about it is that it's so long, and if you miss the fairway, the club you need to get on the green isn't going to get you there because it doesn't have enough loft. So I know there's no event there until the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
But whatever the matchup on day 1 with Bryson playing, I am throwing the absolute mortgage on it because I think the course sets up perfectly for Bryson at Bethpage
It is built for Bryson in every shape.
Pure bomb and gouge. Like he can hit a 9 out. Like, so I'm so upset that there's not like some random playoff event there.
I know.
I would legitimately bet my life on.
What do you think about? Do you think like Colin would be okay there, or would you be worried about Colin Morikawa on a course like that? Because the way he's playing right now, it's like he could win literally anywhere. But I remember like this time last year thinking like Colin Morikawa is the type of player where I'm never going to play him on a long course because his length isn't going to let him compete. And like, I don't feel that way anymore, but Black is such like an extreme.
Yeah. No, but the thing about Colin that I think is so impressive about his game is that he's stellar 175 out. Like he is, I mean, because he's a pure ball striker. So if he has a 7, I mean, I don't know his fucking yardages, but if he has a 7 or 8 and he's hitting a 190 shot, he's probably hitting the green. I think that he's so accurate off the tee and just a pure ball striker that if he's in the fairway, I do think that he can just play well there because you're going to have long approaches at Bethpage Black. So I think he's so good with his long irons that it just makes sense this week. I mean, If
whenever that is.
how is there no event until the Ryder Cup?
There's no event anywhere near us next year, which is disappointing. Like the Travelers will be the closest thing we got.
Okay. I'll be at the Travelers. Okay. I need to go to an event. And so Sunday, Northern Trust, your favorite handicappers, John, and I will be there. I will buy beers for people. I'll be there all day. I might go another day, but we'll both be there Sunday at Northern Trust. If you're on the East Coast or anywhere close, please stop by. I would love to meet all our fans and people that love us. But John, I'm really glad you came on. It was an excellent podcast. I hope you had fun. I think we gave out a lot of good information to people tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we were able to do it. And I'm looking forward to hanging out with you at the Northern Trust. I think it's in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 weeks. I'll be there Thursday too. I'll mostly just be following Sebastian Munoz around. But
big.
Hopefully I got some action come Sunday that I can follow with some groups around. If not, you can live bet it, which is going to be a weird. That's going to be a weird dynamic, like following some groups but being able to bet on them while you follow them around.
Yeah, no, I enjoy that heavily because normally when you watch a group, you only care about one person's shot, but if you bet the matchup, you care about both their shots. Like, it's a lot of fun for.
I think we got to decide. I might even do an article on Saturday night. Like, I'm betting this matchup and I'm following it through and through. We'll see what the action looks like.
It's a lot of fun. Well, John, it was a pleasure. I'm ending the stream. This will be on YouTube and Spotify. I'm putting on Spotify this week. I'm a true podcaster.
Nice.
And catch me on Chris's podcast at 9:30. It's in 20 minutes. I'm looking forward to it. I really appreciate everybody who's listened, whether you're listening live or on YouTube or on Spotify. I really appreciate the support, and let's make some money this week. My card will be out tomorrow. All right, I'm ending it. It was a pleasure, John. Looking forward to doing this again.
Yes, sir. Good luck this week.